He is not just a witness to history, he is a part of history, having represented Bosnia and Herzegovina at the very first Eurovision, where they were an independent country. He is Muhamed Fazlagić. Hello, Fazla.
No problem, William. It's my pleasure.
Historians, people who follow Eurovision, so many people will know that you went to Eurovision, but to get there, had to go through a massive siege. But before we discuss that, I hope you could just tell us, where were you, how old were you in 1992 when the war in Bosnia started?
Oh, I was in Sarajevo. Actually, I was in the part of the city called Grbavica that came under occupation very soon as the conflict started. Actually, that was the first part of the town that was occupied by the Serbian paramilitary forces. So I was fortunate enough to escape across the Midratska River, and then I kind of joined resistance movement in Bosnia. And I stayed there pretty much for a year before Eurovision Song Competition happened. So I was in my early 20s, if I remember correctly. I was in my early 20s and didn't think at the moment that Eurovision will happen. But since Bosnia became independent country, we got the right to join EBU. And then in early March or February in 1993, Bosnia held its first competition for Eurovision Song Competition.
And just to rewind for a moment, when you're part of the resistance, what does that mean? Are you kind of on the streets patrolling?
On the streets, you start first in front of your buildings, houses, in the blocks, and then later on I joined, my crew from part of the city that was called Hrasno Vrdo, very close to the soccer stadium or football stadium of one of the Premier League clubs in Sarajevo. So that's where I was for about 3 or 4 months. And then some important people in Sarajevo decided they're going to make art platoon where they're going to gather all people that they are working in music, in film. And then we got together and we started making songs about resistance and about Bosnia, patriotic songs.
Ah, I see. So your music became a way to help other people during this period.
I don't think that music was symbolic interaction to explain that through the music that our fight for independence and against aggression, against genocide, and against everything that we had to endure was right and was humane, and that at the end we will prevail.
Right. Now, when Bosnia's TV station announced that they're going to have a competition, a music competition in the middle of all this chaos, this war, what did you think? It seems a little unusual.
It was completely unusual. I didn't know what to think at first. I got offered by one of the famous composers, but kind of on a folk side. I got offered a song to sing for it, and I said I'm going to think about it. Then I met very important person when it comes to lyrics in the whole Balkans, because I met him on the street one day, and I said, they're offering me this song. What do you think about it? He said, forget about it. We're going to make song for you, Dina, Marilyn, and I, and we're going to go and we're going to win. They said, you are singing great, Dina is making great songs, I make great lyrics, and I don't think anybody is going to be able to compete against them. That's literally how it happened.
So you already had a reputation at this point as a fantastic singer. Like your music career was already going?
I was an up-and-coming singer, but in a music circles, people that they were close to music, to music industry, they knew my potential. So before that, I had one song that was singing, that was talking about Sarajevo, and it was very well received. So Fabol Svijeta song that I represented Bosnia with at the Eurovision Song Competition basically was my second song that was recorded. So they know of my potential, but I didn't make much of myself yet at that point.
I see. And could you tell us about the song, All the Pain in the World? When you heard it, did you feel a connection instantly?
Instantly. I think we put it together, that song. I think it didn't take longer than a couple hours. I remember we had the idea how to go about it, and then we went to Holiday Inn Hotel because that was the only place in town that had electricity. Because many of journalists and TV stations, they were reporting from the war, they were stationed in a Holiday Inn, in an alley of snipers. So we went there, and we were given a room by the director of the hotel. And when we started putting together, it was obvious that the song is organic, that it was honest, and it didn't took us long to figure out. I mean, from the beginning to the end, how lyrics will go and how music will go. About desperation of the male person who is defending in Sarajevo and sending all his love to his wife, girlfriend, or somebody who was forced to flee the country. But he's saying, I mean, between you and in a choice between you and defending the country, I have to stay here. Even the whole world's pain is in Sarajevo at this point. I have to stay here to challenge and to fight.
And was that autobiographical? Were you singing about your own life?
At the moment, we was, yeah.
Ah, okay. So it's true that it was your girlfriend.
Dina's wife also went outside of Sarajevo. She went to Sweden. She was pregnant. She was about to deliver their baby. So both Dina and I felt strongly about song. That's why I think it happened. It was made so quickly.
Can you remember the lyrics now?
I think I can remember the lyrics. The whole world's pain is in Bosnia tonight. I'll stay here to challenge and to fight, and I'm not afraid to stumble and fall. I'll never stop to sing. I'll never stop to sing. They can't take my soul.
Going into the competition, other people obviously thought you're going to win. But did you think that you were going to win?
No, not really. I mean, although anybody who heard the song, I mean, said we had a fantastic song, but I was kind of very respectful of the people that they were competing in that competition. We had pretty much couple legends, joining the competition because they wanted to represent country. And when I saw the list of the 12 out of 47 that they were chosen for the Bosnian final, I didn't think I was going to win. But as time went by, I realized I had a really special song. So I believe in jury, 90% of the jury gave me a 12 points.
So this really did announce you. If anyone didn't know you, they knew you now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but in Sarajevo, we didn't have electricity, so not many people saw who was singing. And I was surprised when we escaped the siege, when we went to town of Jablanica, which is about 50 miles south from Sarajevo. A couple of little girls, they were asking for autograph, and I was surprised. I didn't know they knew. But obviously, in that town, they had electricity at the time when competition was taking place. In Sarajevo, not many people knew who I was.
Crazy. And is it true that not all of the contestants were able to attend the show?
Yeah, our conductor wasn't able to make it to the island. We had that competition that year was kind of twofold. When we escaped the siege, we first went to Ljubljana, Slovenia, and that was like semi-final. It was designed for all new countries that they gained independence that year. And it's supposed to be, I believe, 12 countries, 7 showed up, and first 3 would qualify for a Eurovision song in Ireland, for a main event. So at the semi-final, we had one conductor, Esad Arnotalić, who went with us. Then he came back, but soon, right after the Ljubljana competition, war broke between Croatia and Bosnia. So Bosnia was literally hermetically closed. The only way you could come to Bosnia, it was by Amprofor plane or something like that, by the air. So basically, our conductor didn't make it to the Ireland competition, and Noel Malcolm was the one. He was Irish conductor who helped us that night, and he conducted our song. So we didn't have conductor.
And at the competition in Sarajevo, did all the artists sing about war, or was there variety?
90%. of songs were connected to the present situation. You can live under the siege in Sarajevo and endure shelling, death, blood every single day, and not to create something that was talking about it. So I believe 90% of the songs that made it to the final were singing in some form about the war and about the problem or good things that war can bring with it.
Now when people Google Sarajevo, a lot of people, see tourist brochures or they hear about, trendy cafes. Could you just remind people what it was like to live during the siege?
It was hell at every possible level. We didn't have windows, we didn't have water, we didn't have food, we didn't have electricity. I had probably 60 pounds less than what I have right now. And constant shelling on every single day, 3,000 grenades would fall in Sarajevo. So all we were seeing on the dark side, it was death and struggle. But on the other side, you could see some organic solidarity, like with Gurkha State. People in a tough situation have a tendency to breathe as one. And we learned that part, and it was amazing to see how much solidarity can be among the people to help each other to survive. So every single screw in engine was working like that. And in one way, there was serious, help, social help, but mentally and soul-wise, it was something fantastic that I never seen afterward anyway.
And your journey out of Sarajevo, to go to Eurovision is of course incredible. Could you tell us just about that escape, you could say, or that journey out?
Yes, we like to laugh about it. So basically, during the day before competition was shown on the TV, we taped that competition. So, for instance, competition was shown Saturday night, and regular competition was Friday night. We did that on purpose because during the time they were showing competition on TV, we chose to escape Sarajevo. So when the people were thinking that I was on TV singing, actually I was on the airport trying to run away across the runway. So basically we came there, our entire group, maybe I don't know how strong we were, 10, 15 people, I don't remember anymore. We had a couple guides, and you start running. You have about 1,000 meters to run across. And then if you are not very successful, UNPROFOR forces can get you, they put you back in a transporter or Humvee, and they take you where you started. So that's basically what happened to us. My second attempt was successful, but since it was mud, and I believe it was February, I kind of had some light shoes, so they got stuck in the mud. So basically barefooted, I ran across the runway. And I know when you run across the runway on the other side, it's kind of freedom, but you have to climb the Mount Enigma. So basically we did that, yeah. So we climbed the mountain and came to the part where it was called, I believe, Hassan Pistan. So about 6 or 7 miles, through the mud and through the wet snow. I was climbing and walking till we get to the part where I could finally, get some warm and everything. But adrenaline was so high, so I don't remember that it was a big struggle for me because I had so much energy. If they told me I needed to run 100 kilometers, probably I would say, okay, no problem, I'll go. That's how high adrenaline was. So we were fortunate enough, nobody got wounded or nobody got killed from my group. But that night when we were running across, 6 people got killed and 17 got wounded. So we found in the media the other morning.
And the journey from, I guess, your home to the airport, how many hours would that take you, this trek?
You from the part where we got together to the airport, it took us fairly short period of time, maybe half an hour with the car. you are driving during the night without lights, so you are not getting seen by the snipers. And when you get to the part of the town from where you are running across the airport runway, and until we got situated, probably took us like 3 or 4 hours, I would say. 3 or 4 hours running and walking through the night. It's a snow. The airport is not that wide. It's about 1,000 meters. But then after the airport, you still have to walk at least 5 to 10 kilometers to get on the safe side. So-called, safe side, where basically you are not seen by the naked eye of the aggressor.
Mm. And that time, it's freezing. Do you have shoes, or there's?
I lost my shoes as soon as I started running because they got stuck in the mud. So I was barefoot.
I mean, it's very dangerous. Yes, you could have been stuck.
But usually, when you are dangerous, is a relative category. So when comparing what the other people were doing at the time, and it didn't sound that dangerous.
Right.
Was high, and you knew you are going out to represent for the first time in history your country, and you know that there's a responsibility to make it, that many people are expecting for you to make it because you're going to be representing them, then it wasn't that hard. And looking back, it wasn't that hard. It was crazy, but it wasn't that hard.
And were you hearing snipers during this journey?
You see people getting hit. You see people getting hit, grenades. You were seeing part of the body on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So, the graphic part, I had enough for 5 lines.
Mm-hmm.
But you live with it day by day, and then you are kind of adjusting, although you are never able to adjust 100% or 5% to that. But you realize that there is no other way around, so you live with it, and you are trying to figure out how to best solve possible situation.
And of course, Eurovision was in May, but this is February. So did you stay out? You stayed out of the country for 3 months?
First thing what we did, we went to Ljubljana. Ljubljana was semi-final, and I believe Ljubljana was early April. So basically we had like 40 days to prepare for Ljubljana first, and then after Ljubljana, we were preparing for Eurovision Song Competition. So we spent that time to finish up my album. So most of the time we were spending in a studio in Zagreb, Croatia. And we stayed in hotel for the first couple of days, and then we found a house that was close to Bosnian embassy, and we stayed there until we went to Ljubljana and then to Ireland for a final night.
What was it like to be outside of a war zone for the first time in so long? It must have felt like an alien experience.
It is at first, but like I said, there is no better adjustable animal in the world than it's human. So humans are adjusting pretty quickly to everything. So the way we were adjusting to the war, we adjust to the normal situation rather quickly. You take few showers with the warm water, you take few meals, you buy 2 good pair of jeans, and you are back on a truck. But you are worrying about your family that is in Sarajevo constantly. So that part is really hard. So you are doing work in therapy. You are trying to work as much, so you don't think about those things.
One thing I didn't ask was, were you getting any assistance on your way out from the military or from the Bosnian government?
We had a commander, Sarajevo's commander, Mustafa Fazlagić, Italian. He organized everything for us, and he was so instrumental. He was so cool. I will never forget that. Unfortunately, he passed 10, 15 years ago, but he was great help, great support, and very instrumental in our quest to accomplish this Eurovision Song Competition.
And I read that, was he the gentleman who just told you, run, don't get shot?
He was the one who guided us and who gave us guide and everything to help us out to get to the Igman Mountain, to break out of the sea. But he didn't go with us, obviously. He had people who were very well versed in that type of activity, and he gave us really strong hands. So we were in a good hand.
And so you're in Ireland. I'm curious, was there a lot of attention surrounding you because the world knew what was going on back home?
It was more than anybody could expect. They were taking us to the rehearsal by helicopters. We had really big, large security about our hotel. I think Bosnia and Israel were special forces secured. Basically, could move anywhere without bodyguards and stuff. But the media attention was crazy. It was crazy. And I don't know. I don't remember single big agency or single big media that didn't cover our story. It was much more than anybody could expect. And we were glad to do that because finally we were able to bring Bosnian story from the political field to the living rooms of the normal and ordinary people. I think in that sense, we helped many European governments to start thinking a little bit different about Bosnia. So we were pleased that there was so much media, although at first I was really surprised. And the biggest surprise for them was that Muhamed could have a blonde hair, blue eyes, and to be told 1'6'3", 6 feet 3 inches or something. So that was a huge surprise. I was getting on every single day, you don't look like Muhamed. And I would ask how Muhamed's supposed to look like. So we were pleased with that media attention. It was good. We put to the good use.
If I'm not mistaken, that year, Croatia and Slovenia also debuted at Eurovision. Was there a sense of camaraderie, or did you guys hang out?
Singers, musicians, they did, but among delegation, you could see tension, especially Croatia. Croatia didn't want us to be there because at the moment, war broke between Croatian forces and the Bosnian army, and at the end, it turned out Croatian forces they became joint criminal enterprise. So they didn't really like for Bosnia to show the big stage because that would be proof that Bosnia was a country exists. And they did everything possible to prevent us to go to the Eurovision Song Competition. But we were lucky enough to have such a great song that other countries gave us points, and we went to the final one. With Slovenia, it was great relationship. They were really kind and nice when we were in semi-final event in Slovenia. They were really friendly, and you could sense some sort of camaraderie. But with Croatia, it was standoff among delegations on the performance level. Everything was cool.
And when you say Croatia tried to prevent Bosnia from competing, was there some kind of like behind the scenes lobbying or petition?
Give us any point. And we gave 10. And that's the only thing they could really do. They were asking us for points. They were promising us points. They didn't give us any. We gave them 10. Head of delegation, Ksenia Ulrich, and her journalist, Clara Rosman, to ask me first question why I was singing in a green jacket. Because green color is in Balkans associated with the Muslim radical people.
Oh.
So I had a green jacket, and she asked me why I was singing that, and I said because I'm convinced that I'm winning this competition, and we are going to Ireland, and Ireland is Atlantic green country.
That's why. Wow.
Yeah, so it was a good answer at the moment.
Ooh, I mean, that question is such an ugly question. She meant it in one specific way, yes? There's no ambiguity.
Oh, no whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I guess at that moment, God is giving you help. So I came up with the right answer.
So the actual performance then, it's the big night in Ireland and the world is watching. Before you go on the stage, what are you feeling? It must be complicated.
I'm feeling just what my mom is going to say about this performance, what my friends will say. because that's the only responsibility really at the moment I felt. Not toward the music career, not toward the friends on the stage. The only responsibility is that you have to represent people, that they stay behind you in Bosnia the way they would consider representable.
And did they have electricity?
No, they didn't. But I'm going to tell you, this is like an exclusive thing that you're going to hear right now. I'm doing with a couple people in London movie about the Eurovision Song Competition. Jonathan Allen wrote the screenplay and the whole story there is about it, but they did research. And they came to Sarajevo to ask people in Bosnia if they remember that Eurovision Song Competition. More people in Sarajevo remember where they were for Eurovision Song Competition night than people in New York remember where they were for 9/11.
Oh wow!
So that's amazing. Every single person remembered they were where they were that night, because they had to work for Eurovision Song Competition to find the battery to run the TV. They had to find some sort of electricity, and it took effort. So that's why probably every single person remembered. Usually people would use bikes. They would take somewhere where they had aggregate. They would charge that small battery, bring home and wait for Eurovision Song Competition, because that was historic performance. It was first time the Bosnian flag was flying in an international competition that everybody would watch. So every single person in Sarajevo remembered where they were for that night and who they were with.
And Fazla, when will your documentary come out?
It's not documentary. This is full motion picture.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know the release date?
I don't know release date, but I think it's gonna correspond really well with your book.
Awesome.
Probably.
Joint promotion, perfect. Synergy. And did your parents tell you where they ended up watching you?
My mom, I know where my dad was already passed a couple years before the war, but my mom told me where she was, and she remembers vividly even to this day who was there, what they were drinking, what they were eating, who was loud, who was quiet, and everything. Seriously, I mean, it's amazing. Every single time I meet somebody new, they said, I remember like it was yesterday, I was watching with this and that person. We were there, we didn't have electricity, so I had to go and charge the battery so we can watch TV and so forth. And then many soldiers, they were on a duty, they would listen over the radio. Many people were crying. So I don't take any credits for that. I was just beneficiary of the circumstances. Because, you know, I guess God wanted, it's a transcendent experience. And I mean, you know, since I went there until today, I'm asking myself, why me? And I still didn't find that answer. Probably that's the question I can figure out answer why me.
So I don't know the answer, but I must say I watched it on YouTube many times, and it feels so pure. Like I don't speak the language, right? But it feels so pure. Like I can get the feeling without even understanding what you're saying. It's that X factor, you know. It's you must hear this all the time, but it's a beautiful performance. And on stage, there's an amazing moment where you sort of turn your back and you have your fists. What is that symbolizing?
I'm just telling them, as you guys turn your back on us in the center of Europe, this is my 3 minutes, I'm going to turn back on you. So just look, you know, try to feel it just for 1 minute when somebody turns back to you, how that looks like. For so many years, you guys turned back on us, nobody helped us. So that was the idea behind that move.
And during that moment, the two women are saying, hey la, la 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 la. Does that mean something?
Not really. It's basically, they're just following the music line.
Ah, okay. You know, this, of course, was a very big stage. Millions of people are watching you. Do you remember anything of what you were thinking in that moment?
Not really. I mean, I was just consumed with the idea that I need to represent my people the way they wanted to be represented. And I think I accomplished that part.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are telling me today that they were the best and the only memorable Eurovision Song Competition performance. Although I think that Harry did a great job in Athens 2006 or 7 with song Layla. But I don't know, people are emotionally tied to this song for some reason up to this day. And everybody telling me without any, nobody ever said, I mean, you know, you could do a better job. Everybody's really proud. Everybody's really proud of those 3 minutes. And on the stage, I was just consumed with that idea. And then on the artistic side, I just wanted to sing correctly. We rehearsed a lot. I had emotion, as you could see, so it wasn't a problem with the X Factor. And I remember when I went back to the green room, it was standing ovation. Everybody was standing on their feet. Next to us was a guy from Corsica. Greece was closed. And who else was there? They were happy for us, and genuinely they were happy that we represented Bosnia. You could see from their face.
It almost sounds like it stopped being a competition, became something bigger in this moment.
Way bigger than that. Way bigger than that. Because people realized why we came there, and that finally they knew our story. They knew how long the journey was. Because remember, whole green room came to Ireland by the plane. They were rehearsing with all kind of means and support, and we came with the mud on our feet, I mean, you know, in our pants and jacket. And they knew that we didn't come for a number of YouTube likes and stuff. They knew we didn't come, I mean, you know, to get the money or to make career out of it. They knew why we came there, just to bring our story to as many living rooms as we could. And finally, people were happy for us. You could tell, because our journey was, so they knew. I mean, now we can go with a smile on our face back to our country.
And do you remember any of the specific artists who were particularly supportive? You mentioned Corsica. I guess that's Patrick Fiori.
Yeah, he was very sympathetic. Greek people liked us so much. Irish, Niam Kalai, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, you know, funny story. I didn't know who she was, and she was waiting for me on the tarmac from the airport. So when I came out of the aircraft, I thought she was one of the friends who was giving us. So I just said thank you, probably gave her a hug or kiss, and I just keep walking. So people they say, no, she's performing for Ireland. We need to make a photo shooting there and everything else. And I really apologize because she's a great singer. No question about it. But pretty much, I cannot say. I know Turkey gave us 12 points, but I cannot say that I saw on the performance level side, everybody was cheering for us. You could tell. Because everybody was so friendly. And I don't think that single delegation made it a party that they didn't ask us to show up for that party. And they were insisting, and everybody was nice and friendly to us. So we went to a bunch of those parties that they were making, and we were really well received, and it was great.
And after your performance, probably the best moment is in the voting segment when Sarajevo phones and the connection is very bad. And the host, she's like, we hear you. And everyone starts clapping like crazy.
Good evening, Sarajevo. May we have your votes, please? Hello, Sarajevo. We're hearing you.
remember this moment, watching it, and what were you thinking?
Right now, because I know we didn't have a phone, so they were talking on us on radio station, and we are trying to get connection, and you can hear that sound, one that goes through your bones. And she's saying, Sarajevo, we are hearing you, and they are saying Sarajevo speaking. I got choked up a little bit on that. But that explains where our people were at the moment. It was probably the most proud moment of my life.
And it's amazing, of course, because that's in the museum in Sarajevo, that moment, you know, they put this media there for people to see forever. Have you gone and seen it in the museum?
The only one who didn't go there, I guess, because now you can tell what was my reaction was of that.
It's very powerful.
That's completely behind music and everything that can human really explain and put in a word. The movie basically that we are making is called Sarajevo Calling.
Ah,
It explains
perfect.
how much emotion is suppressed in that particular moment.
And the movie, will it be in English or is it gonna be in the Bosnian language with subtitles?
No, in English. I was interested to see what is the Western view of the whole story.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Bosnian subtitle, but it's going to be English with the English actor.
Great. Is Tom Cruise playing you? Who is the star?
I don't really know. I mean, you know, they were toying with the names, but I don't really know. I know that we have very good director who was nominated for Oscar 2 years ago with the documentary For Sama, if you are familiar with that. His name is Edward. And then a gentleman who made the screenplay along with me, because I was working together with him, Jonathan Allen, made a really good story. So we hope, but this pandemic really held us back.
Oh.
And so many producers are jumping on a board. So we don't know with this pandemic when product will be out.
Great.
We have pretty much everything in line except I don't think they finished casting and they didn't decide when they're going to start filming it.
Fantastic. Well, we will certainly be promoting it and saying when it's out so everyone can go watch. It's very exciting. A different flavor of Eurovision movie compared to the other one. Leaving Eurovision, when you go back to Sarajevo, was that more straightforward than leaving, or was it just as complicated?
We couldn't leave. We couldn't come back immediately because of war between Bosnians and Croats. So country was, when it comes to ground transportation, was hermetically closed. The part that I would be well received. I couldn't go to southern part because they didn't like me. I couldn't go to the part under the Serbian control. They didn't like me. So basically what we did the round of the humanitarian concert organized by the embassies, Bosnian embassies. Then I finished up my LP record in Zagreb, and then I asked our ambassador, who is now foreign minister, Madame Bisera Turkovic, to help me out to get to Sarajevo. So she figured it out and helped me, and I came back with the plane, with the Amprofor plane to Sarajevo, like 5 or 6 months after the Eurovision was over. And then I stayed in Sarajevo until Dayton Peace Accord was signed. Then I went to the United States stayed there for 20 years. Did my yeah, everything.
What year did you leave Bosnia for the US?
96.
Okay. Oh, so you were there for the whole war.
8 days after the Dayton Peace Accord was signed. It was December of 95 when I left.
And when you returned to Sarajevo, were you able to perform for the people, or because of the war, were you unable to do any concerts?
Perform at the Bosnian Miss pageant competition in 94. Then I was received by the president, Dale Izetbegovic. Then I went, I believe, throughout the radio stations, and I had a big concert in the city of Moscow that was completely destroyed. And I was the first person who came there to give a concert. So I gave as many concerts as circumstances would allow. You understand that? So it was war zone. It wasn't really safe areas for a concert, and people were aware of that. But I did many TV shows. I did many radio shows. I did visit many soldiers. And for those 2 years that I stayed in Sarajevo and in Bosnia, I did as much as I could. People represent the Bosnian Eurovision Song Competition.
When I Googled your song, one of the first websites to come up was Patriotic Songs of Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's like it's the anthem of the country, one of the anthems of the country almost. Is that immediate?
Top 5 of all time.
You have proven, with your Eurovision appearance that the contest can bring a country together, can give people hope, all these very positive things. Yet today, Bosnia is not at the Eurovision Song Contest. There are funding issues. I guess, would you like to see Bosnia go back to Eurovision? Could it still be effective like when you were there?
Now we are on the brink of the war again. We are really walking that tight line, really. We have, as a part of the government, as a part of the Dayton Peace Accord, they create a constitution that is really kind of complicated, and it's not helping us in that regard. So as of right now, we have a part of the government, 2 political parties, that they are refusing to fund anything that would promote Bosnia and Herzegovina. They hope, that this country is going to fold. So that's why we are not showing up at the Eurovision Song Competition for the last 4 or 5 years. So we'll see. We got new election next year in October. We'll see what those elections will bring. But right now, the situation is really difficult, and it reminds a lot like the early 90s. So we'll see. We'll see how this will turn out. I hope for the best.
And do you still watch Eurovision, even though you're done with performing?
But usually they call me every single year to be part of the jury. So they send me those songs like 2-3 weeks ahead. They ask me to listen every single one, to rate them, and so forth, and I do that. For a couple, there's the one organization from Holland, there's the one organization from the Great Britain. So they are trying to keep me involved as much as they can. So that's why I listen, and I usually know what's going on when it comes to Eurovision. But I'm not a huge fan of music scene to begin with. I'm much bigger football fan, and I'm much more care about soccer than about music.
Fair, I understand. And is there any chance you could sing us the chorus of your Eurovision song?
You want an English or in Bosnian?
Let's do the Bosnian. Let's keep that feeling.
Sva bol svijeta je noćas u Bosni, ostajem da bolu prkosim i nije me strah stati pred zid. Ja znam da zapjevam, ja znam da pobjedim. La 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 la.
Still got it. He hasn't lost it. And Muhamed, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. You are such a legend, not just in your country, but to Eurovision fans all over the world. We thank you so much. Vala, vala, vala.
Thank you, really. It was a pleasure. Anytime.